His visit to the border coming just days after that interview.
And our investigator, Liliana Soto, went to Douglas today to cut through all the politics here, hear from the people who live right there on the border. As you'll hear, even families who've been there for generations are divided on the issues.
It's also important to highlight coming to the U.S. requesting asylum is part of U.S. immigration law. Just a mile away from the border is Elsie Ranch.
Growing up here in the 80s, during the Reagan era, it was open borders.
Richard Elsis Jr. grew up on this ranch. He says his experience with undocumented immigrants was different than how it is today.
The expectation was if we saw a family or, a single person or several, it was to make them a bologna sandwich, give them a bag of chips, let them water up, and they'd be off on their way. And we'd wish them well.
Undocumented immigrants meant cheap labor, he says, and in some way, he says, it helped to build what Douglas is today.
There's a lot of hypocrisy by a lot of the farmers out here who, they all hired undocumented migrants through the 80s, through the 90s, and now they won't admit that, because it's not politically expedient for them to be able to admit that.
Douglas is a town with a large Mexican-American population, families with strong ties to Sonora. However, not everyone thinks like Elsie.
I'm all about immigration, but doing it the right way. My parents are both Mexican nationals.
J.C. Flores has dual citizenship. He was born in Douglas, but raised in both Arizona and Agua Prieta, Sonora.
I'm not worried about the mom with their two babies. I'll give them water. I'll give them whatever I can to help them. I feel bad for them. They're looking for a better life. But it's the people that we're not catching.
He says since President Biden took office, there's been open borders, a message that Governor Ducey also gave today.
We need more commitment from Washington to address these needs. There is a perception that our borders are open.
But the border is not open. The U.S. actually continues expelling asylum seekers under Title 42, a policy implemented during the Trump administration. The only difference now is unaccompanied children are not being expelled. Janet is pregnant. She's fleeing domestic violence, but was apprehended along with her two children by Border Patrol in the Tucson sector this week. She says she traveled for 10 days from Honduras because she heard we have open borders. Now she's advising others to not come.
No se movieran de su país donde están porque aquí las cosas están bien complicadas. Bueno, ayuda casi no hay.
Janet has family in Oklahoma. She won't send her kids alone, she says. Instead, she says she will try again. And just like those that have come before her, under President Obama, Trump, and now Biden, more will continue to come. Elsie says that's because the root of the problem is poverty and violence in other countries.
If you really want to get the job done, then you address what's really going to get the job done.
What do you think is going to get the job done?
It's going to be well, first of all, we have to fix the immigration system. We have to have an immigration system that brings organization to the chaos that is our immigration system today.
And I'm not saying it didn't happen under Trump or all the other presiding presidents, but you definitely seen the difference starting to take effect. And for them to say that it's not a crisis, obviously there's something going on.
What's also a risk here is the economy in border towns like Douglas. It's been a year since border closures started due to the pandemic.
Extremely worried.
Donald Hewish is the mayor of Douglas.
2/3 of our sales tax comes from south of the border.
The economic issues this town faces were not addressed by Governor Ducey.
Growing up here, did you ever see a governor coming to your town?
Only maybe weeks before the election. That's not something you see very, very often, not here in Douglas.
What was your first thought or reaction when you heard the governor is going to have a press conference here in your town?
Well, I mean, it's just, everyone's trying to score political points. It's the hot topic right now, right, is the unaccompanied children coming over. They're only here when the media is going to be here.
Talking about politicians, Florida Senator Rick Scott was also here today, giving a message in both Spanish and English.
You've been here for how many hours or days?
I got here yesterday.
So do you think it's enough time for you to learn what really is going on here in Arizona?
Oh, you try to learn as much as you can, but you always like to spend more time.
We support legal immigration. We want you to come in the front way, not sneaking in the back way.
That's Representative Gail Griffin addressing our current immigration issue.
So are you saying that we should then change the law? Seeking asylum is lawful.
The system, we have laws. We need to enforce
Yeah, one of those laws is asylum law. One of those laws is asylum law. So what are we doing to
We need to
change it?
protect everybody.
So do we need to change the law then?
They need to follow the law.
Our governor invited us to tour the border with him. We are going to follow up on that invitation. In Douglas, I'm Liliana Soto, ABC 15 Arizona.